welcome to the OHIO Podcast 2025 Northwestern Wildcats season preview video here on YouTube and audio, wherever you download your audio. Please consider giving us a 5-star review if you don't mind. And please consider liking this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And obviously, of course, please let us know what you think about what we think down in the comments section below. Chris, year 3 of Coach Braun over there in Evanston, Illinois. Year 2 of playing on the lake and in Wrigley Field. Last year of doing that. And this is the football team that traditionally, when you think they're going to be bad, somehow they're really good. It was every other year under Coach Fitz. And then remember 2 years ago, when Coach Braun comes in after Coach Fitz gets fired, no one thought they would be good. They ended up going, 8-4, I believe it was his first year?
Going bowling that first year.
And then everybody's like, okay, maybe these guys are kind of good. And then last year they just fell flat on their face. I go, oh, they're still Northwestern. Which means everybody thinks they're going to stink, and they're probably going to be good this year.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that.
Oh, so Chris thinks the every other year streak is going to be broken this year for the Northwestern Wildcats. But we've got a great interview for you guys. John from the West Lot Pirates will be joining us again. The West Lot Pirates are famous in the Northwestern community. They've been doing podcasting and their blog for over 15 years. They are the most consistent, longevity podcast, not only for Northwestern, but maybe in the entire Big Ten. That's how long they've been doing this. And these guys are fantastic. Everybody who's anybody who watches Northwestern athletics know who the West Lot Pirates are. And we're tickled pink to have them on once again this year for our Northwestern preview. And of course, him, us, and the rest of these great people who we have interviewed and collaborated with for our 2025 previews, Chris, they are all part of The College Huddle. So we want to encourage all of you to go check out thecollegehuddle.com, go to our YouTube channel over at The College Huddle, and subscribe to that channel where you can see people like John from the West Lot Pirates and an entire slew of individuals who podcast and create content for their favorite college football team as well. 85 of them, Chris, from coast to coast, and we continue to grow. Just about every month, there's a new one or two every single month joining, and we have 2 new ones coming very, very soon.
A few more months, Eric, you're going to have all the teams covered.
Going to try.
Tell you what, that'd be awesome.
It would be awesome, wouldn't it? All right, let's talk Northwestern football, buddy. Let's dive into the season that was last year. We do. To the season that was last year and a little bit of history about the Wildcats. So last year, Northwestern won a close battle against Miami of Ohio, the Northwestern of the state of Ohio, one might argue. 13-6 victory. They then lost on a Friday night. I watched this game against Duke on the banks of Lake Michigan. They lost 26-20 in double overtime against the Dukies. They defeated Northeastern Illinois 31-7, and then they opened Big Ten play with a couple back-to-back losses to Washington and Indiana. They defeated Maryland. That's no surprise. They then lost to Wisconsin and Iowa before beating Purdue in double overtime. Again, not a surprise there. And then they lost to Ohio State, Michigan, and Illinois at the end of the season in what was the 3 best teams outside of Indiana that they played all year. Last year, well, Vegas said this was going to be a 4.5 win team. Chris, you and I both said we see 4 wins on this schedule. Chris, we nailed that. That's exactly what they were: 4-8, 2-7 in the Big Ten. David Braun is now 12-13 overall as head coach of the Wildcats there in Evanston, Illinois. That Martin Stadium that I'm talking about on the banks of Lake Michigan holds just over 12,000 people. The all-time record for Northwestern is 560 wins to 710 losses and 44 ties. They are 7-10 all-time in bowl games, and they do have 8 conference championships to their name, Chris. That was the history and the year that was for the Wildcats.
Yeah, I think a lot of people felt they underperformed last year, Eric, coming off of that 8-win season. I didn't see it that way. You and I both predicted they were not going to be a good team. Sadly, I don't see things getting a lot better this season. But who knows, for me, Eric, this is a team that if they can just be bowl eligible every year, it's going to be a very happy fan base.
Oh yeah, like I told John, man, the Northwestern fans are. I've been to several Northwestern games, including one at the Big Ten Championship where I sat next to some Northwestern fans. They are some of the nicest fans and most supportive fans of their school without being rude in the entire Big Ten. Easily. Some of the best.
Realistic and honestly, Eric, all they want to see is they want to see good competitive football. Like I said, if you go 6-6, you're bowl eligible and you're a competitive team, you can write your own ticket in Northwestern. So I don't see, like I said, I don't see a lot of improvement this year, but we'll dive into that a little later. So.
Yep. All right, let's go to the interview now. We're going to bring on John from the West Slot Pirates. You all are going to love it, and for you Northwestern fans, we know you're going to love this because you guys love this guy. So let's take it away and head to that interview. And joining us here on the College Huddle is John from the West Slot Pirates. We're talking Northwestern with John. The West Slot Pirates is by far, in my opinion, one of, if not the best Northwestern podcasts out there. These guys are fantastic, and we're tickled pink to have them a part of the College Huddle. These guys are fantastic to do a great job, and they are well known in the Northwestern circles. And so if you are a Northwestern Wildcat fan and you're watching this, I'm not telling you anything new that you already didn't know. But John, welcome in. Tell everybody about yourself and the West Slot Pirates and what you guys do.
Yeah, so we're really the only game in town relative to Northwestern podcast. We appreciate your compliment that we're the number one Northwestern podcast. That's by default and has been for a decade plus. It's us. A couple others have come and gone, and anytime a new one shows up, we always encourage them. We're like, hey, stick around in the space, but it ends up basically being us. It's me and Sam and Scuzz, and we've been doing this for a long time now. We were joking that we've been doing one of the very first segments we ever did was when we first started was our March Madness preview special with a friend of the pod, Scott Sepich. And we joked that next year that segment is going to be old enough to drive. So that's how long we've been doing this. That'll be year 16 of just that segment. So we've been doing these for a long time. We cover all the Northwestern, not all, but it seems like a ton of the Northwestern sports. It's funny, we're gearing up for football here. We're all gearing up for football, talking football. But I mean, just to give non-Northwestern people an idea of our world, we're also looking ahead to Northwestern field hockey. We're the defending national champions. We have arguably the 2 biggest stars in the sport right now. So we kind of have a side eye on that, let alone we won 2 different national championships in non-revenue sports last year. So it's we're like everybody else. Football drives it for us, football, basketball, but at Northwestern, you end up getting a little piece of everything. So yeah, we've been doing this for a long time. We kind of got our toes in everything, like you said, a lot of involvement in the community, the Northwestern community and everything. But yeah, right now we are like everyone else. We're in football mode, and I'm stoked to talk football.
Yeah, so let's do that, man. Let's dive right into this thing here. The big story for me for Northwestern is twofold. But number one, this is the last year of not playing in basically the old Evanston Field and the old friendly confines that got torn down. You guys have the little stadium there next to the lake. You have Wrigley Field you guys are playing in still. Um, and then the new stadium next year. Kind of give me the feeling there in greater Chicagoland when it comes to the excitement surrounding that and what phase are they in right now? I've seen some pictures. Looks like it's coming along.
It's coming along. It's I think we see new photos show up every day. I mean, Jesse Marks, who's a member of the athletic department, he was a deputy AD. I think he's got a new title now, but he's posting progress photos of the stadium all the time. And I think maybe over the past couple of months, it passed that invisible. You couldn't put a finger on it, but it passed that moment where now every time you look at it, you're like, oh, damn, that's a stadium right there.
Yeah.
Like it went from being a construction site to now it's like, that's a stadium. And every day it becomes a little bit more. And I think it's not just in Northwestern community, but overall, you've got these pictures are coming out, like you said, the thing's really taking shape. And then everyone's circling back to the fact that this thing's costing $850 million and that it's going to be, I think, the most expensive stadium in college football. And now everyone's like, oh, man, this is going to be a mega facility. And we're talking, I mean, you're seeing so much of it taking shape, but because of the way the overall stadium is going to look, there's still so much that you're not even seeing yet. Like it's not a dome, but it's kind of like one of those European soccer stadiums in that there's like a roof that goes out over just about all the stadiums. So that's going to still have to go in and everything. But yeah, it's now all of a sudden, we're probably 13 months out from playing in this thing, and you suddenly realizing, oh man, like it's getting real really fast. So yeah, it's pretty great.
I'm still curious to find out how they make that turf/grass, whatever it is, long enough to where you still have that tradition.
Yeah, hey, I mean, yeah, it's funny too. We've talked to various Northwestern football fans about that long grass. Some of them loved it, some of them hated it, and so it's funny. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely real, and also too, I think maybe a year ago at this time, the stadium, ground was being broken, but we all kind of had hopes about what we thought that lakeside field was going to be. And then that lakeside field ended up being one of, if not the highlight of the season for us last season, in a season that didn't end up having a lot of highlights. So now all of a sudden, I think you can fast forward and everyone being like, well, we know that stadium is going to be sick this season. We know the lake is going to be awesome. We all experienced that last year. And we can look down the road and be like, and then the year after that, we got this amazing stadium. So, and that's from a facility standpoint, everyone's pretty happy right now. People are happy with where we're going to go watch games this year, and then super stoked for what's going to come after that.
Year 3 under David Braun, 4-8 last year after going 8-5 and shocking everybody in 2023. What's the feeling? What's the pulse of the fan base about year number 3 under David Braun?
I would say right now, overall, quite good. I think there are a lot of other pieces to this, and we've talked about this before, but obviously 4-8, not great. You have there are a bunch of little pieces to this, and I think some Northwestern specific pieces too, where Mike Wright was nominally the quarterback at the start of the season last year, and then really after the first quarter of the season, that went out the window, and it ended up being Jack Lausch's team. And I think it ended up to a place where that the results just weren't there. And by the end of the season, it seemed like, he probably wasn't going to be the answer at quarterback. But he's also this awesome baseball player. He's a beloved guy in the Northwestern community. So he makes this pivot towards baseball with an eye on a future professional career in baseball, but also playing baseball for the Cats. And everyone is kind of like, that's great. That's awesome. Go be an awesome baseball player. Goes out with his head held high with everyone's well wishes. We have Preston Stone coming in. So you have all that, and it's like, okay, I think there's a feeling within the Northwestern community that it's like, all right, the offense really did not work last year. But if Stone comes in, maybe that will be the piece that makes it work. And I know we can talk about that. But Braun, to your point, that first season was such a magical season. Didn't really get the results, but in his young career at Northwestern, he's really well liked in the Northwestern community. And I think you've got obviously, as we talked about, you have all these cool things happening with the facilities. So everyone knows like what's on deck. Then there's like the whole NIL piece, the whole new NIL landscape. And Northwestern's very much communicated that they intend to be very competitive in that space, which makes perfect sense. And yet, if you look at the history of Northwestern, a lot of times you'll have where it's like you don't feel like there's that full commitment, or you feel like that there's an antagonism between Northwestern the university and Northwestern the football team, and that's stuff that goes all the way back to Ara Parsegan. That goes back to like the 1950s and 60s. Like, so I think right now there is that overall feeling that everything's moving in the right direction right now. We got these great facilities. Northwestern was more active in the transfer portal than they've ever been by a factor of 10 this year in terms of guys who are coming in. And Braun is just, super energetic guy, easy to like, defensive-minded guy. And I think 4-8 is 4-8, and people want to see an improvement on that this season. But by no means are there a lot of sour grapes from Northwestern fans coming out of that season. I think since that season ended, there's been a lot of positive momentum in a lot of different ways that, again, no one is like, I think your average Northwestern fan's not like, oh, we're going to just crush this season, but people are feeling pretty good. For a 4-8 team, I'd say people are feeling pretty good right now.
Well, if they're going to be feeling good, then it's twofold. It means, number one, they're feeling good about the coaching staff, and number two, they're feeling good about the roster. So let's talk about the coaching staff. You alluded to some of the changes that were made. Let's start there, and then we'll dive into the players.
Yeah, I think so. I would say the feeling, if we're looking at the big coaches, I think people are feeling pretty good about Braun. I would say he's not setting the roof on fire from a recruiting standpoint, but that's always Northwestern is all about finding and polishing the diamond in the rough, guys. It has ever been thus, and I think from a recruiting standpoint with Northwestern, I think most Northwestern fans are saying, all right, the guys that you're bringing in, like, let's see what you do with them. Let's see, did you find some diamonds in the rough? Are you going to polish those guys up? On the defensive side of the ball, Tim McGarrigle, who was a phenomenal linebackers coach for Northwestern, year one under him, no one's got any complaints. We also have phenomenal position coaches, but I think for a lot of people that starts with Christian Smith on the defensive line. So there's a feeling that Northwestern's got great position coaches, got a great DC. The big question mark is Zach Lujan. Even now, I think, he came in last year as this wonderkind from South Dakota State. Brilliant guy, young guy, and it just did not work for him in year one. I think you can look back now and be like, okay, we had some real problems at quarterback. We had some real problems at offensive line. And the way things unfolded week by week last season was in such a weird way. And the way the way everything bounced week to week to week, and that's not to absolve him. He, had a couple real head scratching moments, as did Braun. They're both young coaches who are finding their way and building their way. I think the average Northwestern fan is now saying, if last year you didn't have the quarterback piece, well, this year you very much do have the quarterback piece, and you have a lot deeper of an offensive line now. You have a big new wide receiver coming in from the SCS ranks too. So a lot of people, I think, are looking at Zach Lujan and being like, okay, that was a rough first year. You got a lot of pieces here, and I think everyone's looking for more improvement. So if you look, I think, at the Northwestern coaching staff overall, I think people are feeling pretty good. I think the Lujan is the main piece where people are saying, all right, you've got pieces now. We want to see it. And I think that would probably be the main thing relative to the coaching staff.
All right, let's dive into the starting lineup, if you will. We're going to take a stab at it here. And just based off what I see on our lads, it looks like the coaching staff really went after the transfer portal a little bit here, too. So that's obviously going to be a major piece of what we talk about when we talk about this roster. So that being said, you can start. Offense, defense, it's your game here tonight, buddy. Ball's in your court.
I mean, again, I think we talked about when you talk about the transfer piece, and this is the other piece that really has to be focused on here, is that when you look at these transfers, and like you said, we brought in a lot of transfers, that there's no precedent for this at Northwestern. None. Zero. And a lot of that had to do with the admission standards at the university historically being a real issue, and that's an issue with recruiting too. But I think there's very much a feeling within the Northwestern fan base, and always has been, again, as I said earlier, for decades and decades, that there is a reasonable ground on a lot of these things that has not been found historically, where it's like, oh, we can maintain the standards not only of the university academically, but within the athletic programs academically, and still find the necessary space to move and make the things happen that need to happen here. And the transfer portal was always a major issue with this, that it didn't line up with Northwestern's academic calendar. It was really tricky to get guys in. Admissions did not offer much wiggle room. And this year is a real watershed moment. I mean, I think it's like you have Mark Jackson coming in as the new AD, and then with him and Braun, there's a real commitment to this. There's an understanding that's like, look, this is the way the landscape is now. We got to adjust to this. This has, like, you can't, the old way doesn't work anymore. And I know that that's something that all schools are dealing with, all programs are dealing with. But in Northwestern, there is this real historical piece. So you look at all of these guys coming in, and there's it's a real watershed. So you can look at a Preston Stone, who obviously is a major quarterback get for us. We have pulled in big time quarterbacks through the portal before. Peyton Ramsey would be a big addition. Ben Bryant would be. Those guys both came in through the portal, played right away, and were massive contributors. So obviously we're expecting a lot from Stone, but you can look at the offensive line, and we may have as many as 3 starters this year, new on the offensive line. Evan Berenson from North Dakota State, or is it South Dakota State? South Dakota State, offensive lineman. Xavier Gray coming in from Liberty. Martez Lewis potentially coming in from Minnesota. All 3 of those guys may start. I think on the interior, I don't know if it will be Lewis at left guard. I think in terms of and Braun, without mentioning names, very much talked about this at Big Ten Media Days. The depth in the offensive line room is so much more than last. And I think that's something that a lot of people weren't aware of, in terms of, you can look at like a Caleb Tiernan and a Josh Thompson, who's probably going to start for LSU this year, and be like, oh, we had some really good guys in the offensive line last year. And it's like, we didn't have depth. Between everything that had happened the year before and guys coming out and all these problems getting guys in through the portal, we just didn't have bodies across the offensive line for all of last season. And when injuries mounted up, that was a real problem. There's way more depth this year. And Braun talked about the fact that we have really good offensive linemen who are not going to start this year. And the question of exactly who those guys are, I mean, I think you can look at left guard and be like, between Lewis, let's say, Nick Herzog, Mo Ratikai, these are all guys who played, and Ratikai played last year as a freshman, showed real power. Herzog started game 1 of last year against Miami of Ohio, looked great, and then got hurt. And Lewis has all these starts from Minnesota under his belt, knowing that Minnesota, and their rushing attack. And probably only one of those guys is going to get that start at left guard. And then there are other guys, Anthony Bursa, Deuce McGuire. Like, there are just a bunch. We just have these are all good guys, and they all can't get on the field. And again, there's like, this is from a team that was really nicked by depth and injuries last year. Like, that's big. But again, to get 3 linemen who all could potentially be starting for you in through the portal is big for any team. For us, it's unprecedented, So on the offensive side of the ball, like, that's a huge deal. Getting Griffin Wilde also in through the portal is another huge deal. FCS football player, but this is a guy who had, I think, 10 catches for 100-something yards against Oklahoma State last year. So he's got the bona fides, but just so many catches, so many reps. And we have a lot of talent on our receiver core, but a lot of it is really untested. And, guys have been hurt. We had guys leaving, AJ Henning, Bryce Kurtz, et cetera, who really carried the load last year. And then we had a couple other really promising young guys who just got hurt. And I think now you have a lot of those guys are healthy. Wilde will be the presumed number 1, just because his level of production at the college level right now just dwarfs everybody else on our roster. Just from raw numbers, it's not even close. He's caught so many more balls. But you can rewind to 2023 and look at SMU and look at Preston Stone, and he's spraying the ball around to 15 different guys. So I would expect, like Wildy may nominally be WR1 for us, but you're going to see 10 guys catch passes for us. I think ideally, hopefully some of these guys who've had the rough injury luck, you're going to see the ball spread around a lot more this coming year. And that's going to be big too. But again, yeah. So, I mean, you can look offensive line, wide receiver. The portal has been big for us. There's no doubt about it.
Let's talk Preston Stone, quarterback. He is, I'm assuming, is going to get the nod to be the starting quarterback. You mentioned he's from SMU. He started 2 years ago in 2023. I'm assuming this is the guy, yes?
Oh, yeah. And again, talking about things with little to no precedent at Northwestern, Braun announced that Stone was going to be the starter at Media Day, which we knew. We knew he was going to be the starter. He's at Media Day. He's representing the team. But again, like Northwestern, we have a history of not announcing who the quarterback is up until like literally when you watch him walk onto the field in week one, even when everyone knows the job has been settled. And that was always something that Northwestern fans would always roll their eyes at. So yeah, for us to even be able to say Stone is the guy, even though we all know that it's true, but Stone is a special quarterback. He's a special quarterback. We're fortunate to get him. And yeah, I mean, the numbers from 2023 are big time numbers, but they're big time numbers backed up by the fact that he's special at something that not many players are special at, which is throwing the deep ball. That it's a really small group of guys where everyone agrees the thing this person does best is chuck it 30 to 40 yards down the field. That it's almost like he's better. It's not just that he's got a cannon, it's that he's got an accurate cannon. It's like the guy has no more higher level of comfort than when, they're running 9 routes down the field, which is a big deal. And he's not perfect, but he's awesome at that. He has an NFL trait in that area, and he's had it his entire life. And that's why he was a massive recruit. It's why he was a big time player at Texas. It's why he could have gone anywhere in the SEC if he wouldn't have been loyal to SMU. And then it basically like all this shoulda, woulda, coulda with whatever happened at SMU. I mean, I think you can really boil it down to at the start of last football season, SMU's offensive line was an absolute mess, and they couldn't protect him. And they had Kevin Jennings as their backup, who's super fast and a really good athlete and also a phenomenal quarterback. And that basically by necessity against BYU, when Stone was just getting lit up because the line could not protect, they put in the guy who was really fast, and he did a great job, and they didn't go back to him. And in today's era, you're not hanging on to 2 quarterbacks like that. Not anymore. And that's the thing. So we got him. I mean, I think if you were to ask any SMU fan, they'll be like, man, I wish we still had him. He's awesome. He's just totally different from the guy that's starting for us right now.
You know what this sounds like?
What?
Will Howard from Kansas State.
Yeah. I mean, Will, hey, I mean, from your lips to God's ears, it all worked out quite well for you.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're not complaining.
Yeah. And again, I think Howard had a lot more experience even than Stone did, because Howard had started all those years at Kansas State. But Stone's 2023 is Stone's 2023. None of that was an accident. We watched so much tape on him as soon as we got him. They ran a vertical offense with him because he could stretch the field like crazy. And they had a big time tight end in RJ Maryland. But they just had a ton of guys. He was throwing the ball all over the place because he's got an absolute cannon and can throw the ball downfield accurately. So again, I think that's the hope for every Northwestern fan. Now you got to protect him. You can look at BYU and the way they played against SMU, and even Nevada 2 weeks earlier, which was really a mess. SMU was lucky to win that game last year. But you can look and watch the way SMU's offense with Stone broke down because they couldn't protect him, and be like, well, that was the problem. So any Northwestern fans being like, well, geez, like, can we protect him? It's like, we have this massive, our offensive line has major transfers. There's a talent upgrade, but the depth of the unit is so much better now that it's like, we feel like we can protect him. And if we can, then yeah, like, I mean, again, like they're this is one of the five best arms in college football right now, and I don't think you'd get too much argument about that.
Mm.
It's just, I think it's that they gotta, we gotta protect him. And to taking it back to Lujan, the idea of, like trying to pound the football, which is how Lujan played at SDSU, at the FCS level, pound you, pound you, pound you over the top. Well, there's no better over the top guy than Preston Stone. I think we need to be able to establish some of that run. And if we can, I think everyone's pretty confident that Stone can hold up his end. I mean, it's just like the tape from 2023 it's incredible.
Let's talk about the run, man, because you guys have Cam Porter one more year, the Ohio native, played at LaSalle High School in Cincinnati.
Can we just say we both watched Ohio State and Northwestern play against each other in 2020 in the Big Ten championship game, and Cam Porter was Northwestern's running back in that game, and it's 2025, and he's still our number one running back. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. So, listen, a lot of those of us who follow recruiting, we also dive into Ohio high school sports.
LaSalle, right? Cincinnati.
Yeah, nailed it. Yeah, and he was a name. I knew who he was back then, and he Ohio State caliber? No, but he was good enough to get a Division I offer and play somewhere, and he chose Northwestern, man. And
he was. I mean, his run over these 6 years has been so fascinating. Again, because like we were talking about, that 2020 season for us was so magical, and he really didn't get to play until the second half of that season. But then, like, come Big Ten championship game, like, there he is out on the field. Then he had a brutal injury the following year that effectively knocked him out for really 2 years until he was back to where he deserved to be. And then I think since then, it's like, like he has that real ability. He's our number one between the tackles guy. It's just the running game for us. Like, it seems like we are always snake bit on the offensive line, particularly in the interior of the offensive line, in terms of guys not being able to stay healthy. And you can look at, I mean, I'm trying to think, you can look at Miami of Ohio week 1 last year and go across the interior of our offensive line. And I'm trying to do the math in my head, but there were definitely a bunch of games subsequent to that. There were several games where left guard, center, right guard that started week 1 for us were not on the field, for stretches of the second half of the season. So, I think Cam runs hard. He's tough. He's been around forever. I think everyone's got faith. Everyone loves him. Of course, he's been such a huge part of this program. But I think the feeling is, yeah, like that's your RB1. That's your between the tackles guy. Now, we've got Joe Hyman, too, who is a phenomenal athlete, an electric athlete. And I would say the real question, and I think the real feeling with Northwestern football is Joe Hyman needs to be on the field almost all the time. If that means you have to put him at wide receiver, then you put him at wide receiver. And that's not to take reps away from Cam Porter, but it's like Joe Hyman has gained weight. That was clear at media day. He's trying to be that every down back. You're going to see he and Cam split a lot of reps, but I think a lot of people are thinking, look, Cam Porter is nominally going to be on the field a ton, but Joe Hyman needs to be out there as much as possible. Whether you're putting another guy in the backfield or you're putting him out in the slot, whatever, but that kind of speed is speed that you need to have on the field.
I just did some quick math. That's why I was chuckling. Cam Porter has been at Northwestern for 6 years.
Yep.
If you just did the math on tuition for a Northwestern student, Northwestern basically gave him $400,000 worth of an education.
Hey, and that's Northwestern education too. And I don't know what his grad school is, but I'm going to guess he went over to Kellogg, and that means he's got an undergrad degree from Northwestern, a graduate degree from the Kellogg School of Management. At Northwestern, we call that 4 years for 40 years. Although the joke this week has been because of Rashawn Slater's new contract with the Chargers. It's also 4 years for $114 million. But we call 4 years for 40 years because, Cam Porter's going to, if the NFL comes calling, so much the better. But, Cam Porter's got 6 years of a Northwestern education under his belt now. That's going to do quite well for him.
I don't think he's going to be hurting anytime soon. So hats off, Cam. You did that well, buddy. Way to take an unfortunate situation and make millions out of it eventually. So that's great. All right, let's flip it over to the defensive side now, John, and I'll let you kind of take over again. You did a great job kind of breaking that down. What we have done in the past is started up front of the defensive line and worked our way back, but you can do whatever you like here.
That's fine with me. I think it's really funny though, because, you were talking before on the show when we were talking about, what we were going to talk about today, you're talking about like position battles, and on the defensive line, that's not really a thing for us. And the way that the Northwestern defensive line operates is, at least over the past couple of years, is a way that I think it's hard for a lot of other people or a lot of other publications to make sense of. We're just going to play a ton of guys, and it's situational football. That's a really deep unit for us. And I think what this unit lacks, and it's a small piece because this is the strength of the team, but an every down game wrecker of a defensive end, right? I think you can look at, like, let's say in Iowa, and you can look at, who is it? Ethan Herkett, Aaron Graves, guys like that. Iowa seems to churn guys like that out, where it's like, a 260, 270, 280 pound defensive end, but a guy who's going to go to the NFL and a guy who's going to he plays every down for you from a defensive end standpoint. That's only to say Northwestern has everything else on the defensive line, and we're just stacked there. We've got guys like Carmine Bastone, Najee Story, who are great, like run first defensive tackles, right? And then we have this whole pass rushing unit that is, it's Aiden Hubbard, it's Michael Kilbane, and it's all caps Anto Saka. And it's like, if those three guys are all in the field at the same time, that means you're in third and long, and that means you've already lost, because those are just all our weapons. And those guys almost function better as a unit than they do individually, but as a unit, they're unbelievably effective at getting after the quarterback. But it's kind of like a sum up of what I'm talking about with the defensive line and how irregular this all is. They were talking at Big Ten Media Days. Anto Saka, our defensive end, edge rusher, was one of our Media Day representatives. The Athletic is pegging him as a first-round NFL draft pick next year. He's never started a game for the Northwestern Wildcats. And those two things may sound crazy, but it just has to do with the way we use him. He is a weapon. He's a weapon who's coming on in second, third long. A lot of times he's coming on with other pass rushers, and they work perfectly in concert with each other. And he's unbelievable in those situations getting after the football. Now, he's gained 15 pounds in the off season because he's trying to fill that role that I was talking about, that every down defensive end, where it's like, hey, if they're pegging you as an NFL edge, like, we need you as an every down end at the college level right now, because that answers so many questions for us, and really helps kind of glue the whole thing together. But I think the defensive line for us is really deep. It's really deep. It's a strength. It's really well coached by Christian Smith. You will see a lot of guys play. You'll see 10, 11, 12 guys play. Guys are coming on and off all the time. It's all done situationally, and they're really good at it. And if we find, I'd say if Anto can be that defensive end who is at once really strong against the run and the pass, that will unlock everything, because that unit's strong everywhere else. I think, again, we have depth there. We have strength. We have a lot of excellent situational football players. I can list one guy who's awesome at anything you would want a guy to be awesome at. It's just finding that one guy. If we have that one guy, every down defensive end, who can glue it all together, I think you'll see that unit be a real strength for us.
And all right, let's move back to linebacker here. You guys have some names I recognize, and then some new names I do not recognize here at the linebacker position. So let's talk about that.
So I think arguably, and this is a great position to have, arguably the single most reliable player on our defense is at this position, Mac Uline. Mac's been in the program a long time. He is an absolute stalwart at linebacker. He's been part of some great linebacker units. this is a guy Northwestern fans have absolute faith in. He's really rangy. He understands the position really well. He was awesome last season, and particularly when Xander Mueller, another phenomenal player, was down for injury and then came back kind of not at 100%. Particularly if you look at the end of the year, like Mac was the guy for massive stretches of the season last season, and the numbers back it up. He's an awesome football player. He's been an awesome football player for a couple of years. A huge thing for us to have. I think if you look at the way last season played out, likely we're going to have two linebackers on the field most of the time. It's not going to be three. We're probably going to have that nickel back on the field most of the time. And as things are currently looking, number two, another guy we got in through the portal is going to be Yanni Karlaftis, brother of George Karlaftis.
Yep.
Purdue legend.
Yeah, the Boiler Express podcast guys they might still be a little sour about this one.
So I think realistically, it's like we didn't get George Karlaftis in through the transfer portal. I wish. Like that's one of the greatest. That's in the time we've been doing this podcast. That's one of the greatest college football players I've ever seen. That guy was as dominant at the college level for Purdue as anyone I've ever seen. His brother is a different kind of player. I think for Northwestern fans, we had a linebacker named Bryce Gallagher, who was the younger brother of another awesome linebacker, Blake Gallagher. They were both all Big Ten linebackers for us. Bryce, where Yanni is the same kind of guy, hits like a truck, goes where he needs to be, isn't going to beat anybody in a foot race. I think that's kind of the thing. This is a really strong, violent, capable linebacker who's not fast. And I think having Mac on the field at the same time makes up for some of that because Mac is really rangy. But I think we'll be leaning on those guys and hoping, that the line can contain so that Yanni Karlaftis doesn't have to be trying to chase anybody down. But again, Northwestern has made it work with linebackers like this before, Bryce Gallagher being the biggest example. It's like at the end of the day, guys who are dependable and can hit and deliver real power, you can make a lot of hay with. If we had a third linebacker on the field, I would guess that it would probably be Braden Bruss, who is a phenomenal athlete of a player. He's someone I think started playing high school football a little bit late. He's from a family that we've talked about in a pod before. His extended family is basically CrossFit royalty. It's like the best people in CrossFit ever. So he's like a phenomenal raw athlete and really fast, really good hitter. He just hasn't really gotten onto the field yet because we've had awesome linebackers in front of him and we really only play two at a time. I think if we are playing three, he'll be the third. But I think a lot more likely what you're going to see most of the time is us playing a nickel. And Robert Fitzgerald is probably going to be that nickel. And that's a guy who's, anytime he's been on the field for us, I think everybody's loved him. He seems like a great football player. And I think a lot of times you'll probably be looking at him as the de facto third linebacker. So I think if we're playing three, Braden Bruss will be the third, and Northwestern fans have total faith in him. And if we're playing that 4-2-5, it'll probably be Fitzgerald, and Northwestern fans have a ton of faith in him.
All right, let's move back to the secondary then. You can take this however you want, corners or safeties first, however you want to do it.
Yeah, I think we can start with corner.
Yep.
Northwestern, there's a lot of talent here. A lot of it's young and a lot of it's relatively untested. I think we got in portal again. We got in Fred Davis through the portal. He's likely to start at one corner for us. This is a guy who did start at Clemson at one point in time, and then I think been at least one other place since then.
Central Florida and Jacksonville State.
Yeah, that's right. Central for UCF and Jacksonville State. So he's been around, well-traveled. He probably is going to get the start there. I think that has a lot to do more, though, with the stability you get from the experience that he has, because we have a bunch of guys who are really promising at that position who just haven't had a lot of reps, whether it be through injury or guys in front of them. Josh Fussell is a guy, he may get the start at the other corner. He's a guy who at times, another guy from Ohio, I think he's from Cincinnati too, he had at times he played last year as a really young guy. And at times he looked a little lost out there and other times he looked phenomenal.
He's from Lakota West. That's a little bit north of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
But Lakota West has got produced a ton of Buckeyes in their time. So
I believe it.
yeah,
So he looks really promising too. He's just young, and you can look at other guys we've got back there: Braden Turner, Evan Smith. These are guys who are phenomenal special teams players. Some of the best special teams players we've seen at NU, and they just haven't had a lot of reps at the position. Not a lot of game reps at the position. Those guys are all going to play. Ore Adai is another guy. He got hurt. He was really in the mix to start and got hurt. It's just a young group. There's a lot of potential there, but again, it would be looking like a really green unit, which is why they had to go get Davis and why I think Davis is going to start. Just because again, it's green. I mean, I think if you were looking at the defense, you would tag this as the weak unit on the defense.
okay.
That's not a statement about the guy's talents. It's a statement about reps. This is where the fewest reps are easily. If you look at this unit, like you're going to have a bunch of corners who are going to play who just haven't gotten a ton of game reps up to this point.
And let's talk safeties real fast.
Yeah, so this is sneakily, I think, in the shadow of losing. That's the other thing I should have mentioned too. Is we had an All Big Ten second team corner last year in Theron Johnson, and he's at Oregon now. Part of Oregon's unreal transfer class that they have coming in on the defensive side of the football. That's a big loss for us. And again, it would make all the difference in the world to have him back. But that's what happens. That's what happens with the portal. I think Northwestern fans aren't crying about that so much because we got so much in through the portal this year. But sneakily kind of lost in the shadow of losing Theron Johnson. Devin Turner was an awesome safety for us. He's at Baylor now. And I think Northwestern maybe has a little bit less depth here at a position that we're used to having a ton of depth. Northwestern tends to be really deep at safety. And I think this is the most that depth has been tested in a little while. I think if you look at the starters, we got Dylan Tatum through the portal from Michigan State. He's probably going to start. And Damon Walters, who is a great cat, who a lot of people, we love him, like a great young player with a ton of potential, will be at the other safety. After that, it gets kind of squirrely. And for a position where, again, Northwestern's been stacking depth, I think you can look at the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years and be like, Northwestern seems to always have like 4 or 5 really strong safeties, and we're trying to figure out how to get them on the field. I think Fitzgerald's the X factor there because, like I said, he's a safety, but he's probably going to be on the field as a nickelback. If you end up in some sort of injury situation, and this is something that goes back to like when Rod Hurd was at Northwestern before he went to Notre Dame. If you do see some sort of stress on the safety position relative to injury or whatever, one of the first things you might see is Fitzgerald move back to natural safety from nickelback, and then see us try to fill, maybe adjust scheme wise to fit that in. Maybe put one of these natural corners underneath so that Fitzgerald can roll back or something like that. I think. So like I said, I mean, like the starting unit, I mean, we don't know too much about Tatum, but he seems like a solid player. A lot of faith in Walters, a lot of faith in Fitzgerald. Hopefully, again, it's just like the depth in terms of tested depth isn't there at the level that it has been before. But again, like front to back, Northwestern fans have no complaints with this unit. I mean, this unit had its problems last season against some of the best offenses in the conference, but got little to no help from its own offense. And I think a lot of times was stressed to the point of break last season. And hopefully we all have plenty of faith in the guys that are on this defensive unit. If they get a little more help from the other side of the ball, I think everyone thinks they can get it done.
Well, let's take a look at the schedule now and try to come up with a ceiling and floor this season for the Wildcats. I'll share the screen here with the handy dandy schedule I put together here for you guys.
Looks nice.
Thank you. All right, we start off on Saturday, August 30th on the road. This game is kicking off 12 o'clock Eastern on ESPNU. Down in New Orleans, Louisiana, you're going down to play Tulane on the road, game 1.
It's a massive if I was an impartial fan, I would probably be going with Tulane in this game. If I had no dog in the fight, I think it's going to be a really good game. Them getting Jake Retzlaff through the portal sucks for us. That is, that's a monster guy to get. They're a very good football team. They won 9 last year, and that was a down year for them. They've really, I mean, we've talked about this on our pod, but you got your OSUs, you got your Oregons who really have this portal thing figured out at the highest level, but Tulane's got it really figured out at a lower level, where you can just see Tulane's figured out where they're like, we can get the best guys from the Sun Belt or wherever, be a finishing school for those guys, ship them off to the SEC afterwards. But in between, we're winning a ton of football games. And again, like that's no fun to play on the road. This is obviously a team that's only got like 2 losses in conference in the last 3 years. They're good. And getting Retzlaff was a massive portion, a massive get for them. And we're just going to have to figure it out. With that said, this is a massive game for us. We think it's going to be a close football game. I think this is going to be 2 teams that are really going to test each other. Going to Tulane is not like going to Death Valley. You know, I mean, the weather, I think, the heat is going to play as much of a factor as anything. But it's going to be a tight game. And it's a massive pivot point for us in this season. Like this is a really big one for us. And it's right out of the gate. And let me tell you, we all want to find a nice bar where we can all sit and watch this and have a phenomenal environment. And it doesn't help that Ohio State's playing Texas at the exact same time. The two games kick off at the exact same time.
Hey, listen, don't look at us. Look at Fox. Gosh dang it.
Yeah.
We want this thing to be prime time, and Fox said, no, we're going to throw you on at noon because, that's what we do.
Yeah.
We put Ohio State at noon. That's what – anyway, continue. Sorry.
Anyway, massive game for us, and right out of the gate. I mean, I think it's a pivot point for us. It's one Northwestern fans are circling. It's going to be a hard game, but it's kind of like Miami of Ohio was for us last year, except I think Tulane's a better team, and we're on the road. But it's a tone setter for the whole season for us. It's a massive game.
All right, tell me about Western Illinois. That should be a win at home. I mean, I think that goes without saying. September 13th, you get Oregon at home. That's a 12 noon kick on Fox. So there's the Fox guys we were just talking about.
Oregon is the first of a whole list of games here. We were looking at Big Ten Media Day, and they're listing like key games on our schedule. And they just go to the big names, right? It's like Oregon, Penn State, USC, Michigan. And we're like, no Northwestern fans circling those games. We're not circling those games at all. Northwestern has so many strong seasons over the past 20 years coming off of non-winning seasons because we win all the games that like you can go through all those seasons where Northwestern's winning 8, 9, 10 games a season, and you're not going to find wins over Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State in there. It's that all the games that the casual fan would be like, well, Northwestern could win that game, then we go win that game. And that's where we stack up wins. So the average Northwestern fan, I mean, it's sick that we've got Oregon coming to play in our 15,000 seat stadium on the lake. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
But I mean, we're under no illusions. This is the number 8 team in the nation coming in, and this is no Northwestern fans circling this as a must win.
By number 1 on September 20th, September 27th, they're in that 15-seat stadium. You guys welcome in the UCLA Bruins in a game that you probably just explained that you probably need to win.
This is a big one. This is another one that, again, I think Tulane and UCLA are the 2 that every Northwestern fan's circling. Those are the tone setters. I think you could, furiously knocking wood, but we could lose to Oregon, we could lose to Penn State, and we could still be out of the gate, at 4-2 here. If we take care of business in some of these other games, and UCLA is a big piece of that. I think the average impartial fan's going to look at Nico Iamaleava and be like, well, that's a big time quarterback. They got in through the portal, but we got a big time quarterback in through the portal too. And they've got some good things going, but they've got a lot of problems on that team too. They're coming to us. One of these, brutal travel games for the West Coast teams. And yeah, that's a game we can win. That's a game we need to win.
Louisiana Monroe, same thing. And then you just mentioned at Penn State, obviously no Northwestern. I mean, come on. Just go take down the number 1 team in the country in their house, man. You can, no big deal.
Why not? I mean, I think we're of the opinion, and we've talked about it. We haven't preview. We're doing all our Big Ten previews right now. We haven't previewed Penn State. Drew Aller, I don't think that's a national championship level quarterback, but I think against so many of the teams on their schedule, including sadly us, I don't think he's going to have to prove that one way or another. They have Nick Singleton. They've got Katron Allen. They've got that defense under Knowles. We have no illusions for that. Yeah, why not? Nothing but house money. Let's go in there and shock the world. But Northwestern fans aren't going to be tied to that one way or the other.
All right, Purdue at home on October 18th. They were one of the worst teams in the Big Ten last year. They're in a rebuild mode. You guys are probably thinking that should be a win. October 25th on the road at Nebraska.
This is hard. I mean, again, I think these last 5 for us, we really, if we're having designs on a bowl, we need to be positioned well prior to this point. I mean, to your point, like in some best case scenario where we're 4-3 or 5-2 coming into this stretch, wins are still really hard to come by here. I mean, if we could get them out on the lake instead of in Lincoln, that would be something. Obviously, like Nebraska still hasn't totally turned the corner yet, but they're a much improved football team from the Scott Frost era. Let's put it that way, with a really exciting young quarterback. So that's hard. It's a hard football game. I mean, I would give the edge to them, but by this point in the season, we're going to know what we've got.
Yeah, so let's just take November 1st bye. Let's take those last 4 at USC versus Michigan versus Minnesota at Illinois. Those are tough 4 ones, man.
I think the one we'd all be circling is the Wrigley game against Minnesota. That would be the big one out of that group. I mean, Michigan, we just haven't beat Michigan in forever. And now you can look at 95, 96, 2000, arguably the 3 most famous football seasons in Northwestern history. Northwestern beat Michigan all 3 of those years. We haven't beat them since. And that's a really tough one. The Minnesota is a big circle one. And then, we've talked about it, kind of joked, and we'll talk about it when we eventually preview USC, but you could talk me into an insane barn burner of a football game where neither offense can be stopped in that game and we somehow prevail. If you're asking me to circle the game against the blue blood that people say Northwestern has no shot of winning, that we somehow win, USC is the one that I would circle, just because I can envision some situation where Stone throws for 350 yards and we win some barn burner of a football game. Michigan is what Michigan is, and unfortunately for us, we who have enjoyed so many wonderful years of our rival down south sucking, this is not one of those years. We expect Illinois to have a very good football team with a very good quarterback. It's tough down the stretch. That Minnesota one is for sure big against us. And also too, because we haven't won at Wrigley yet, and we've played there a couple times yet. And now again, playing Ohio State in Wrigley's not doing much to help that average. Maybe if we can take the Ohio State Wrigley games off the schedule going forward, that'd be great. But we haven't done it. And with this new stadium opening, who knows how long it's going to be before we go back to play Wrigley. So I'm sure it would be great to get that Minnesota win at Wrigley on the way out the door. And I would love for that game to, for bowl eligibility to come with that win. But yeah, it's a tough last 5. There's no doubt about it.
Just take the piss and navy blue down as well when you do. Just do it, man. We won't complain about that. I promise you. All right,
I'd like that. Sure.
All right, give me your cold hard truth. What's the floor? And give me your pie in the sky. What's the ceiling?
The floor. Gosh, if we're going based off of like what we could lose, I mean, we're not losing to Western. We're not losing to Louisiana Monroe. And I would be really upset if we lost to Purdue. I think we are the flat better football team there in every way. So, I mean, if I was being doom and gloom, I would set the floor at 3-9. But I think as Northwestern fans, we want that Tulane game. Like, we believe in what this team has. I think we believe in Stone. So if our floor is 3-9, I mean, 7-8 wins would be the ceiling, and that's the ceiling. And I know a lot of people are rolling their eyes at that, but I mean, it's not hard. I mean, I would, Tulane, Western, UCLA, Louisiana Monroe, Purdue, that's 5 right there. We've won at Nebraska multiple times. And certainly that Minnesota game as well. And of course, at Illinois, we won there 2 years ago. That was our 7th win of the season. So literally we won the last time we were down there. So, I can find you 7, I can find you 8. And as we talked about before, the last 20 years, Northwestern coming off a non-winning football season, the average record is 8-4, which is certainly not to put the cart before the horse, but any Northwestern fan has seen this exact thing, this exact type of thing happen, and can tell you exactly how we get there without beating the Penn States and the Michigans and the Oregons. So, yeah, I'd put the ceiling probably around 8, but the floor is 3. It is what it is. This is no one's peach of a schedule.
One last question for you, John. I've really enjoyed this just well of knowledge that has sprung forth this evening from Northwestern, and let me just put a little feather in your cap. I am working on a top 5 and bottom 5 fan bases in the Big Ten series. I have gone to several games, Ohio State games against Northwestern, and you guys are competing for the best fans in the Big Ten.
Let's go.
I love Northwestern people. They are so nice, kind. I've sat next to them at Indianapolis and sweated bullets in the first half of a championship game, and the fan looked at me, put his arm around me. He goes, "Don't worry, you're still gonna win this game, bud." He goes, "We're just happy you aren't blowing us out right now." And I'm like, I'm sweating bullets. I'm like, this isn't going well. You guys are some of the nicest fans, man. So I will give you a little feather in the cap there. That I've really enjoyed my time with Northwestern people. But I gotta know, and if this is an off limits question, I do apologize, but I haven't heard from Coach Fitz at all. What's he doing? I mean, a year ago it was kind of like hands off from the fan base, but I kind of like to get an update.
I think, again, this whole thing is tied up in the courts and everything that's happening. I mean, I think there's a whole big lawsuit piece. I think the courts kind of imposed a trial date in terms of when it actually goes to trial that I think is like this coming November or something like that, that I think a lot of us look at that from a perspective of, well, if there's going to be some sort of settlement, that's your deadline effectively, right? Where a lot of times you hear like a lot of legal bluster from both sides of like, hey, we'll go to trial, blah, 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 blah. And then suddenly you get like a settlement announced and it's like, yep. Oh, guess what? There's a settlement, terms non-disclosed, done and dusted. I think like November, whatever that November trial date would be a deadline for that. I think if you were in a tea leaves reading kind of thing, I mean, Fitz has a son who's quarterback out of Iowa right now. And I think a pretty good relationship with that football program. And as much as, we hate Iowa, like a lot of other college fans probably don't know that, but I mean, Northwestern and Iowa have a pretty healthy rivalry there, at least certainly from our perspective. And no Northwestern fan would like to see that, but him showing up on that Iowa coaching staff certainly makes a certain amount of sense. Be as a grad assistant or something like that. That's not me saying anything. That's not me knowing anything. That's just he and Kirk Ferentz were the elder statesmen of that conference for a long time. His son's a quarterback there right now. And I think any kind of him moving on. And again, this is literally just me guessing. I mean, at Northwestern fans, everyone's wondering this. That's the kind of thing that's not going to happen without a settlement, I would say, of some sort. So, I think you could look at something like that and be like, if you told me a year from now, 2 years from now, whatever, that Pat Fitzgerald's on the Iowa sideline in some sort of nominal coaching role, even if it's just as like an assistant position coach or something, with his son, who is a quarterback of the Iowa football team, I would not be surprised in and of the least. But you'll also find people that we've talked to about this, who know as much about Northwestern football as we do, who are like, no, that's not going to happen. This is going to go to trial, etc. So I would say no one knows. But from the strictly fits piece of it, that's kind of where things are right now. And again, I don't think anyone has the answers, nor will we. And I would say a ton of Northwestern Nation is, I mean, there are people who will defend Fitz forever. I think a ton of Northwestern Nation, though, is basically being like, there's so many things coming in the future here. This stadium, the new stadium that's coming down the pike, right? Like, you have a new coach, you have a new AD. There's so much new that's going on here that's pulling everybody forward right now. So I think the average Northwestern fan, whether they're a Fitz loyalist forever or whether they're looking, whatever, I think most Northwestern fans are looking forward at this point. I think they are looking forward towards the next year, next 2 years, next 3 years, next 10 years, and really excited about what they're seeing.
Yeah. Thank you for that update, John. I appreciate that. Didn't know that about his son playing at Iowa. That's incredibly interesting because that coach don't have long till he's done.
Yeah, this is no me knowing anything. This is no tea leaves. It's just, these are the facts. These are the facts of the situation.
Right. Well, this has been a lot of fun, and this is always one of those interviews I really look forward to having because, John, you guys are fantastic over at the West Lot Pirates. Tell everybody where they can find you guys and follow you at.
You can find us everywhere. It's so funny. Sammy, who's the host of our pod, is usually the one who's rattling all this stuff off. So I feel like but we're on Twitter, Blue Sky, YouTube, everywhere, westlotpirates.com. If you check in on us right now, you'll see that we are right in the middle of all of our Big Ten previews, which we really try to take a long view at this stuff because, like we were saying, we've been doing this like 15 years. So when we're previewing a Nebraska, we're not just looking at the Nebraska of right now. We're trying to contextualize it through the last 15 years and everything that's led us to the road that we are at right now. And that's a lot of fun for us. And we do those all throughout the summer. Then we preview the Cats, and then we are right into football season. And like I said, It's like that used to be all we were doing, but now we have this national championship field hockey team. We'll find time for them as well. And then off into the fall we'll go.
Beautiful thing. Thank you, John. I appreciate it, man. Enjoy the season. I think I would like nothing more than to meet you guys up at Indianapolis once again. It was kind of a tradition that we had going on there. Both of us dropped the ball.
That sounds wonderful. I think us beating Michigan in Wrigley and us meeting in Indianapolis is something we can all get behind, 100%.
Yeah, I like that. If that's the case, the OHIO podcast and the West Lot Pirates will be meeting in the West Lot there at Lucas Oil Stadium, flying our flag, man. It'll be a lot of fun. All right, John, appreciate you, man. Enjoy the season. We will be in touch, and we will get you guys on the College Huddle as well, doing some work over there here this season as well, guys. Appreciate it, John.
Thank you.
And thank you, John, from the West Lot Pirates for joining us for our Northwestern preview. Chris, they're optimistic. They have a reason to be. They're fans. They've made some huge strides in the transfer portal, which is something that in the past Northwestern has refused to do because of academic standards, and they were able to kind of open up those standards slightly somehow to allow more transfers to come in. And so this is a very transfer heavy Northwestern team. Sometimes that can be great. Sometimes you can strike gold, and other times it can fail miserably. So we'll see what it's going to be like for Northwestern. They are confident about the offensive line, in their offensive line play. They're confident in their quarterback that they got from SMU, who 2 years ago threw for almost 4,000 yards. So they have some pieces there. The question will be, how quickly can these pieces gel together and work as a unit in what is going to be a difficult Big Ten schedule? That's the question.
Yeah, it is, Eric. And, you mentioned it, transfer heavy. this is a team that half their starters are going to be transfers. Literally, including, I believe it was, 7 or 8 guys on the offense alone are going to be transfers that are either starters or are going to see serious playing time. That's a lot to try to gel together.
Yeah.
Which I think definitely leads to some early season turmoil as they try to gel. But, you know, at the same time, I love their optimism. I just don't think it's really realistic this season.
Well, let's figure this out, Chris. We're going to share this Northwestern Wildcats schedule with you all one more time and see how Chris and I came to different results. Usually, sometimes we're pretty step. We get to the same place, maybe not always with the same games, but we get to the same place. We did not hear.
I'll bet we're going to go rounds like our buddy, me and our buddy JR the other night on his show.
Oh, yeah?
We definitely had disagreements on Northwestern.
Were you on his show as a guest, or did you?
I wasn't on his show as a guest. No, I was just in the chat. And they were doing their prediction show, Eric, and
yeah,
I was definitely much more in line with Zach than I was with JR on their Big
Was
Ten
he
predictions.
super high on Northwestern? Was he?
Wasn't super high, but he thought they were. I believe, if I remember right, he thought they were going to be bowl eligible at 6-6.
That would be a great year for them, hands down. All right, here's where we're at, everybody. So according to Vegas, this is a 3.5 win team on the over/under for Northwestern this season. Chris, you are at 4-8. I am at 3-9. At Tulane, August 30th to start the season. I have this as a loss.
Yeah, I actually have this as a win.
This is a huge game for them. Just like John said, this was going to be a huge game for them. If they go down there and lose, like I think they will, I think that sets the precedent for what's going to be a tough year. If they're going to somehow get to 6-6, they absolutely have to win that game.
Yeah, and honestly, Eric, I think that my gut feeling is they do win that game, but at the same time, I feel like if they go out there and lose that first game, don't be surprised if this team doesn't catch a win or only gets one win all season.
September 5th against Western Illinois, that should be a win.
Should be. Yeah, I've got
September 13th against the Oregon Ducks, that should be a loss.
Yeah, that's not going to be pretty, Eric.
They get a bye on September 20th before hosting UCLA. I have them losing this football game.
As do I.
October 4th, they host Louisiana Monroe. That should be a win.
That's what I have.
October 11th at Penn State. That's a loss.
Yeah, again, not going to be a pretty game there.
October 18th versus Purdue. I have this as a loss. No,
I've
win.
got
Sorry, I have
this
this
as
as a win. Yeah, I have this as a win.
Yeah, I think Purdue's the worst team in the Big Ten this year.
So, yeah, that's my third win for them. And then I don't have them winning another football game the rest of the season.
Yeah, I don't either. I think that, the only game we differ on is the Tulane game.
Yeah, at Nebraska on October 25th, then their second bye, and then they finish the month of November at USC versus Michigan versus Minnesota, at Illinois. That is a gauntlet, man. That is rough. That's 2 years in a row where they're finished the season off with some just doozies in the Big Ten. A good Illinois team who they play every year at the end of the season. We're assuming a good USC team. Both of those on the road. They get Michigan at home. They haven't beat them since the I want to say, was it the Kennedy years or not Kennedy years? I'm sorry. Was it second Bush?
Probably.
I can't remember. It was like 2000 or something.
But Eric, I will say this:
it's either Clinton or Bush.
As it pertains to Michigan, there are factors that could obviously change that, I think.
Yeah, and of course, like I told the West Slot Pirates, every Buckeye fan will be rooting for you. Might even be wearing purple that day for you. So that's how we came up to that. Was at 3.5. Chris, you're actually on the over at 4 wins, where I'm at the under.
Yeah, but this is my thing, Eric. I'm 100% staying away from this.
Okay.
Even though I have them picked with the over, uh, I'm going strictly on gut feeling with Tulane. And like you said, you chose that game as a loss. To me, this is just going to be a team that's too close to that 3.5 to really make a bet on.
Well, if you're going to go with some historical data, they'll be over because this is the every other year team. Maybe, maybe they get to 6. Maybe JR's right. Maybe he's on something. Let us know what you think. Are you going with the over? Or are you going with the under at 3.5? Are you agreeing with Chris and JR? Or are you agreeing with Eric on this one? Let us know what you think about what we think down in the comments section below. Chris, this was our preview number 14.
14.
We have 4 left. They are
the Fab Four.
They are Penn State. They are Oregon. They are the team up north. And they are your reigning, defending national champions, the Ohio State Buckeyes. That's who's left on our previews. We will have those for you coming up in the next several weeks as we inch our way closer to the start of the 2025 season. And we're going to be here to tell you all about it each and every single game, each and every single week, right here on the OHIO podcast. Everybody, do us a big favor. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Consider subscribing to the channel. Even if you're a Northwestern fan, we would appreciate your support. We hope you enjoyed this preview. Again, let us know your thoughts down in the comments section below, and we will be back next week with 2 more previews here on the OHIO podcast. Till next time, be kind to one another. I owe someone's OH. Sing Carmen, Ohio with all your heart. Chris, you know what to do. OH.
IO.
Go Bucks.